Hello there, it's Daniel Ford, and I'm just going to explain my lesson plan. So my lesson plan is part of a health and PE unit, and so we're focusing on health at the moment. And it's sort of lesson number 6 through to 8 or 9 within the unit. So you would have spent 4 or 5 lessons just building up students' knowledge about relationships and how to assertively communicate between each other and how to actually effectively communicate with others so positive outcomes are reached. And we're going to be focusing mainly on bullying. So the purpose of these lesson plans, you can see down here in the learning intentions. So up here is the main objectives of the unit, and then we break it down for the purpose of these next 3 or 4 lessons. And what the students are going to be doing in the next 3 or 4 lessons is actually planning out, recording, and then using iMovie to put together a short advert focusing on anti-bullying to present to the rest of the class and possibly assembly at the school, or you can take it, however you want to go with it. So the learning intentions here are just written right here, so you can just read those if you want, and then they link straight through to the success criteria, so how we'll actually know that students are achieving the learning that we want them to achieve. And I think it's really, really important that we sort of create a guided discovery approach to learning. And so we use lots of questioning to draw out the answers. Rather than telling students actually what we want them to do, we try and get them to come up with what they're going to do, so they actually take a little bit more ownership of their learning. So I've done that over here. So there's key questions, points, and so as you can see, as you scroll down, there's a whole bunch of different questions throughout the lesson. And in the middle here is what the actual activities are, and a little description of what you're going to do, and here's sort of how you're going to manage the class, what they're going to be working in groups. So it's pretty similar for the whole thing. So the first section, the planning phase, which is going to be about 1 lesson, students are going to work in their small groups, 3 to 5 depending on how big your class is, and within the group there's going to be a range of different roles. So we talk about here discussing those different roles. And then if you go down to the second lesson, which is actually filming, so students are going to be allowed to go out into the school and film the bits they need that they've already organised in their planning section. They're still working in the same groups, and there's sort of similar roles that they're going to be using. Okay, so that type of stuff doesn't really change much throughout the lesson. But the main section, so there's 3 sections I've come up with, which is planning, which is going to take 1 lesson, filming, which is going to take another lesson, and then production, which may take 1 or 2 lessons depending on how well your students are able to pick up using iMovie and whether they actually do their homework. So the first lesson, it's really important to stress how what different parts of a movie are, what the purpose of actually creating an ad is. So that's one of the key questions that we'll be asking them. I'll give them some sort of answers that you're looking for down here. And so you can build on those questions as they come, and there's teachable moments that you need to get into there. So it's taking a bit more of a sort of constructivist approach and incorporating that as we sort of construct the knowledge within our groups and also with other groups. So one group might have a really good idea about something, and another group might see them doing that, or they might share it with them, and they might think, oh, that's awesome, we'll try and incorporate that as well into ours. And actually with utilising each other's ideas, they're going to be able to come up with a better production of an ad than if they were just doing it on their own as an individual. Because with your basket of knowledge and my basket of knowledge, together we have a much greater amount of knowledge. So the first lesson is planning. So they're going to be discussing why it's really important to have ads like this, what the purpose of them are, what are the different roles involved in making a movie, and who gets to have a go at each of those roles. And we want to really stress the importance of everyone getting a chance to try different things, so that they don't just do the same thing the whole time. They actually get a step outside their comfort zone, then maybe they go back to the thing that they really enjoyed. And then we're also just going to outline what the actual requirements of the ad are, because we want to make sure that all the students are sort of meeting a certain success criteria. And in order to do so, they need to create an ad that's got all these components in it, so that when we come back up to the top here, the success criteria is met. And we're going to give them a little example and say use a storyboard for their planning. So a storyboard is basically just a series of events, sort of like a comic strip of what your movie is going to look like. And it can be as in detail or as not in detail as they want it to be, but they need to have a general idea of the different types of shots they're going to need, what they're actually going to need to film, because when it comes to the editing stage, if they don't have all that stuff, then they're actually going to find that it's going to be quite hard to edit their film well together. So I really stress the importance of planning it really well, making sure they have thought of everything. It's better off to have a couple more scenes that you don't use and you cut, rather than not enough footage at all. And then the second lesson is going to be actually filming the ad. So just, there's a few questions over here. Why is it important to stick to your plan? And really stress the importance that they've only got one lesson to film this, so it's only maybe an hour, 45 minutes that they actually have to film. So they need to get out there and they need to be really onto it. They need to know exactly what each other's doing, who's doing what shots they need. So they really need to make sure that they stick to that plan that they created in the lesson before. And this one's going to require a great deal of self-management, because students are going to be allowed to go free run, sort of to actually go all over the school and use different settings, different environments and contexts to actually film their film. So self-management becomes really key in this this part of the lesson, because students will have opportunities to sort of stray off path and get distracted and things, but it'll become pretty evident which groups have really focused their time and used it really effectively in this lesson when they get down onto the production phase. And so the production phase is going to be another 1 or 2 lessons long. Hopefully it'll be 1, might be 2, just enough time for them to actually get everything done. They come back to the second lesson, just tidy a few things up and then present it to the class. And so students are going to use what they filmed in their first one and put it together according to their plan that they did in the first lesson. So at the end of it, they should have like a very clear plan of what they did, and then they filmed it and produced it, and their final production should match up to what their plan is. And if it doesn't, then you can use that for a little bit of reflection and actually self-assessment on students, and ask them why they didn't state a plan, what happened, what were sort of some of the things that affected their filming time, things like that. And they can actually go, oh well, we were a bit disorganized, or we were really organized and had everything done in half an hour, so we had an extra 20 minutes to kill. So we thought we'd try out a few different things, and some of them didn't work, some of them worked really well, and we incorporated those into our movie when we edited it. So there's actually an opportunity there to actually give them a little bit of chance to reflect on their self-management, and that's really an important part of a constructivist approach, is a reflection and building upon what they've done. So that's pretty much sort of how my sort of 2 or 3 lessons is going to work. I think it's kind of hard to actually break these down into an individual lesson, because without the planning and the filming, it's pretty hard to do the production, and vice versa. So they're all sort of interrelated to each other. So in the same respect, you're kind of taking a sort of building block idea that they need to do this part of the learning before they can move on to the next part of the learning. And I think that's important, but underlying that is our whole constructivist approach, and working with each other to actually come up with the whole idea. So that's pretty much my lesson. Hope you found it useful or interesting. I've put a little link up there with the actual document as well, so you can read through that at your own leisure. But thank you for watching.